That was to be, they pulled, there was a big gate, with a big old wooden gate, and a bridge, and they pulled up a self-propelled 155, gonna knock that gate down. Blew whole chunks out of it, but it didn't knock it down. We got Keith Ware, he was Colonel Keith Ware, the commander of the 3rd Infantry Regiment. He was just about fit to be tied. So I went across the street and got up there and looked down, and blessed pet, there was kind of an indentation here. This is the wall here, like this. Come along here and then back here, and then here was that gate, and come back this way. And there was a little gate, a personnel gate right there, wood. I just had to back and got started up to get us some beehives and all the grenades you can get, because we're gonna go and see if we can open this place up. And I was feeling like a hero that day, so there's a moat. But the moat wasn't up against the wall. That's the problem. I thought the moat, maybe this was just modernized. Or maybe if you had the moat under the wall, it would saturate the soil and the wall would collapse. I don't know. But the moat was out away from the wall, say 30 yards, something like that. We got down in the wall, in the moat, well, the water wasn't too deep, and crawled up the bank, and I could have better looked at that door. And we brought some coat hangers. We had a door opener. So we could take a coat hanger and cut it and wind it around a hand grenade under the spoon. And then you could hang that on the doorknob and pull the thing and let her go and get out the road, and that would open the door to you. If nothing else would. We had that, and we had the beehives.
What's a beehive?
That's a shape charge.
Oh, okay.
About that big around, and it's designed so that the force of the explosion will go in one direction. Oh, got over there, and I could see that there was looked like places, so we hooked up 2 grenades with coat hangers on them, and I told little guy, now you keep your eye on top of that wall there. I'm going to run over, hung the grenades on that thing at the hinge, at one on each hinge, pulled it on pins and ran around the corner. It wasn't very far from the corner, not more than 8 or 10 feet to the corner, and I had shelter there I could get by. And it blew those hinges off, and the door come sagging out. One more grenade on the lock, then it did the thing open. But then we see why they couldn't knock the gate down. They had pushed rubble up against the wall. Just tons and tons of it. You had to look up. There was room to go through that door. So as they pushed the rubble in, some of it just didn't come down and blocked the doorway. One made the mistake. The losers made a mistake, so you could get in there. Well, I hollered the guys to come, and I stepped through and heaved 2 grenades up over that doggone wall of rubble, and climbed up it, and the 2 behind me, and they were checking everything on the side, and I went to the top, and the doggone, I was right in the end of the street, and it was full of soldiers, 45th Division soldiers. I thought we were breaking our way into the walled city. What's all that damn noise going on? Well, the only thing we got out of it was some good cheese. There was a cheese shop there. They had cheese and stuff like that. We got a few of those out. Well, the 45th Division guys were carving them up, and they had some beer. It was a good day, so I didn't earn me a medal that day.
That's too bad. Sounds like you deserved one. It was just that somebody had come in the other way.
What?
Sounds like you deserved a medal, but somebody had just come in the other way.
Yeah, well, evidently it'd been a long time in there because the street was full of them. They were, all of them had a bottle, there was empty beer bottles left. That's that.
Did you go much beyond Nuremberg?
Oh, yes. When the war was over, we were in Salzburg, Austria. We left Nuremberg and just pedaled down the road to Augsburg. The engineer group was kind of hog-tied because we were towing a lot of ponton bridge material with them. And we didn't need it. There was a bridge almost any place we needed to cross. When we got to Augsburg, I don't know who was there first. I don't remember anything. Just going to settle down and get a good night's sleep. And up to eat, including some of that good cheese and that beer and other stuff these guys had found. The messenger came down as we have a task force jumping off at midnight. We're going to Munich, right straight down the Autobahn. One battalion of infantry, a couple of companies of tanks, some tank destroyers, an engineer platoon. That was me. We had our tank dozer, all this stuff, and the way we got at midnight, it seemed bad because it was raining. That didn't worry me particularly. Then you're going to say, we're just going to jump. There ain't going to be anybody on your right, there ain't going to be anybody on your left, there ain't going to be anybody behind you. Now that gets kind of a little, you begin to wonder, you know. About 10 minutes before midnight, the clouds broke and the big old moon came out and just lit that highway up. We went. The object was to get a bridge across the river at Munich so we could get into Munich. That was the object of the whole task force. As engineers, we performed real well on that dash in there. About a couple of hours down the road, we came to a place where they had blown the bridge over the Autobahn, both lanes, just dropped it. But again, whoever built that highway should have built it about 2 inches narrower between the slabs, because the blade on that old bulldozer, that old tank dozer, just was almost a perfect fit. So we just started shoving dirt and got the infantry dozers up there, and they were finding small rocks and anything to throw in there. And they sent a company over to be security on the other side. Oh, that didn't hold us up very long at all. We got over there, and then when we got to the other, because we were just in a slope down there, just a ramp there, and laying that stuff out, and the tracks of the tank dozer that was tamping it got to the other side, and there's that bucket up and bang into that dirt and pull it back. Shoot, they didn't hold us up. We weren't held up an hour. Back down that road. And the task force commander, Osgard, I remember him. I can almost remember what he looked like. We went on down that road, got daylight. Here came some airplanes. They were ours. We probably got a little careless over there because we didn't see much German airplane. I saw a jet fighter one time. He strafed the column with his round from his 20 millimeters. Just were hitting so far apart, he was moving so fast that They were landing 20 yards apart, I guess. But anyhow, we got the I&R platoon had a Jeep out front. And just as we got into the side of Munich, and we'd see the bridge, and he started over it, boom, it blew it. We lost the Jeep and 4 men. And the column came to a halt, but it didn't stay halt because Iron Mike came down that road. No escort, no nothing. Just him and his Jeep and his driver, and he kept a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on a post in the back of the Jeep. He traveled that whole distance down there. Of course, he knew we hadn't hit any resistance, but he didn't know there wasn't a sniper out there somewhere. But here the old boy came, right down that road. We'd pulled over to a farmhouse on the side. He wanted to know what's holding up. They blew the bridge. Well, find me another one. Well, that was orders. And we went off to the right of the highway and went down there in little villages and farms and stuff. I don't know why nobody saw the map. That river came around like this and curved back, and that bridge was right here. And it went on up and curved back another way, and we got off back down in here. And we were in a house. Old Taylor was in there, and the company name was Bacon. Captain Bacon commanded the forward company. And Taylor says, say they've got the best stops in this place I ever tasted. Oh, I went upstairs where he was and was having a little schnapps, and we looked down and I could see down at the end, the infantry was just in extended formation, just starting across an open field, and I could see one end of a bridge, masonry bridge. That driver, I said, now I'm going down that road. You want to ride with me? I'll ride myself up to you. He says, I'll ride. There was a house. The road ran right into a house, ran into another, with a wall around it. And we were running right at that thing, and boy, that was a nice place to have some machine guns and stuff, but there wasn't a soul in there. We hit it, and I got out, stopped the Jeep, and I got her out and looked, and there, it wasn't the river. There's no denying that, but it was a bridge over a stream of some kind, and we needed it. I looked back, the infantry was just halfway across that field. Oh, they were 300 yards, 400 yards back there. Oh, the buggers might blow that. I asked us, so what, are you game? Oh, we, on foot, we just charged over that bridge and took them completely by surprise. There were 2 apartment houses back there, and they had a machine gun set up in one of the windows, and I saw it when I got to the end of the bridge. But I don't know what they were doing. I don't know how many were there. We killed 5. The driver and I killed 5 while we were there, and there must have been some more took off. And the infantry boys heard that. Taylor had started out in a Jeep somewhere behind me. Oh, I told him, I'll ride with Taylor. You go back and tell the general that we got him a bridge. It's not over the river, but he didn't specify that it had to be over the river. He just said he wanted a bridge. So we went up a little trail, a little track. It was vehicles had been on it, was gravel, and found that it came out on the highway on into Munich, a clear shot, if we could just get something over there. Oh, I went back, got the Jeep. I said, we better get back on. The general, besides I want him by God to know that. And I told him what we saw. And he got to light tanks down there, and over a bridge. I held my fingers whether they'd cross that bridge or not. And got them across that bridge and come up on that. And the first one took an 88 round just as it come up out of the ditch. Well, that second one didn't. He laid his gun down there and he let her loose. Whoever it was down there didn't want any more. But we got on into town and it had, you know, the river. That's the Danube River, I guess, runs through Munich. Runs right, almost right through the middle of the town. Lots of old, ancient and Renaissance architecture and stuff like that, you know. And every once in a while a bridge over there. Now they hadn't blown those bridges. They'd taken all the rubble they could find and old streetcars and buses and just rolled them over and piled this rubble on those bridges. We're going to have to move that to get to the other side. There's no point to be told because somebody's going to tell us we had to do it. Or we got winch trucks up there and just tie onto something and winch it back and pull it back. We're making progress. I have to look around. Come a bunch of guys out there, you could tell they were PWs, prisoners. Found out they were French, Polack, I could tell when they were speaking French. And all of them had pots and pans and bottles full of wine. Well, I don't know where that was coming from. I'll just backtrack. I caught them coming stairs out of the basement of a building. And went down in there and they were just huge. I don't know, what do you call it, a ton? Huge, maybe 10 feet in diameter, a barrel lays on its side and they had just left the spigots open. Wine was about that deep all over the floor. Drunk Frenchmen, Polacks, drunk Czechs all over the place. Oh, I sampled it, pretty good. Went on back to the bridge and we were working there and we had a unit that always went with us that was called a military government detachment. And we had ours was a lieutenant. I can't remember his name. We never called him by his name anyway. We always called him Gov. And he stopped by and he said, "Hey, I need you and a couple of your men." Loaded a couple of our guys in the back seat and I got in with him. He tore through the building out near this PW stockade, lots of barbed wire and stuff out there. And he pulled up a little road intersection. There are houses, just little cottages, bungalows or whatever. And he says, in that house there is the commander of this PW stockade, because I want him. Well, they had to use our door opener to get in. But we got in all right. I went to the kitchen. The man in the commander, his wife, 2 children, a boy and a girl about 12 or 13. He had laid 3 of them down on the floor and shot them in the back of the head and then put the pistol in his mouth and blew the top, put that Luger in his mouth and blew the top of his head off. That upsets you. Well, we got across the river. At Cincinnato, that was the most humbling day that I spent. We got across the river and we're not gonna sleep or nothing. We're gonna go on. And we took off, our engineer company, all by ourselves now. Took off down the road. came to a village. It's a typical little German village, had a square out there and around it, and a guest house, and some other shops. It was dark when we got there, almost dark. And this was where we were going to spend the night. The cooks got in the guest house and took over the kitchen and started cooking. I took my platoon off and went down and picked out several houses to go in. Dropped off, looked like it'd be, the squad could stay in this one and the squad in that one. And I come back up the street. One of the guys that had gone in the first house, he said, "Hey, come in here." I went in. There was an elderly lady, her two daughters. One daughter all the daughters were up late teens, 19, 20, 23, 24. And a man. And we had heard about these discharges that they had. He had been wounded on the Russian front and sent home and so on and so forth. And I said, well, and two little girls. The two little tiny girls. One just a toddler, and one about 3, and one about 2. Prettiest little girls you ever saw, and the GIs were bouncing them on their knee, and the kids were laughing and giggling and just having the biggest time. You know how kids will laugh when you bounce them and let them lay down and they'll This old boy sat there and he didn't say much. Oh, I was derelict in duty. I didn't disturb the status quo. I went on back up to the guest house. Was having a beer. And the guy came up, "Come back down here, hurry." And I went back down at the house. The older one and the younger girl were in the kitchen, and they were crying and hysterical, and the bedroom door was closed. The squad leader says that man got up and went in there and he called his wife and that she 2 little girls, and all 4 of them were in that room. And more than said that till a couple of slugs came out through the door. Said, "We got trouble. We got trouble, haven't we? But I ain't gonna shoot in there with those kids. Let's hit it and knock in some more shots." And we charged it, and I thought maybe it's gonna be about empty if it was a Luger or a P-38. He had laid his wife and the little girls on the bed. He had put on his SS uniform. Killed those 2 little girls. Twice in one day I saw that. Maybe somebody else saw more, but I don't know enough for me, I'll tell you. The older kids, that didn't hit me quite so hard. I had held those 2 little kids in my arms, bouncing them, tossing them up in the air. Crazy bitches. Just absolutely. Boy, he had his boots and his leather was all shaking. It was a P-38 incident that he had, and nobody wanted it. Nobody would take it, just the house when we left. It's all kind of confusing. I know it snowed that night. Went on, we came to a larger town, and we had a little fire in a railroad yard, and it was still snowing. You know, we did the firefighting. There was no infantry with it. Everybody was just helling and going.
What kind of weapon were you carrying then? An M1 or a carbine or?
12-gauge shotgun. In German, when you see we made them turn in all weapons, that was one thing that Gov did. He posted a notice. Every little old village that they turn in their weapons. Some of the craziest things. I saw a suit of armor. One guy swore me out he saw some boxes. But this was a beautiful automatic 12-gauge shotgun. 5 rounds in the, jack one into the chamber and then put another one in. Had 6 rounds could fire that deep. Of course, the first time I fired GI ammunition, I stuck it on the back side of a tree. I don't know whether it would blow up with ours or not. But it was all right, and it saved me a few times. Ever seen a man get hit with something like that? God almighty, it's murderous. And you know, I had a pistol, of course, and a Tommy gun and a 12-gauge shotgun. I usually left the Tommy gun in the Jeep. But then everything is all confused. And we went on down that road and got to the last bridge in Germany, and it was blown out. But we managed that pond and stuff to come off. It was just a creek, the 3 boats in the creek. Everything went over. Then put 3 more boats in the creek on another bridge. 2 bridges were working, man. We went over that bridge. And that must have been the 5th.
The 5th
of May. Must have been the, well, it could have been the 4th. I don't remember too well. We found a great big palace there. It was a huge thing. It wasn't ancient architecture, more about 3 stories high, elaborate inside, great old chandeliers and all that kind of stuff. And we had a flagpole, and we flew the 3rd Division flag from the flagpole. And the looting commenced. Some guy tried to steal one of those chandeliers. I don't know what he could have done with it. It would have been two and a half to haul it. We went on down the road and spent the night in another village, and we were attacked by SS troopers. But we were expecting them because the local people told us that they were up there and that they would come down every night. So we were waiting for them. That was the last firefight. I had one more on the 7th, I guess. But anyway, then we got to Salzburg, Austria.
Excuse me, before you start there, with that last fight with the SS, they were still fighting fairly hard. The SS were still fighting fairly strongly right at the end.
Oh yeah, they were brutalizing these people in there. They have been in there raping their own women and all this kind of stuff. Well, people were happy to see us, and they helped us every way they could, and these guys just marched down there, and just like it was going to a party. Well, they did. They ran into 250 caliber machine guns and about 45 M1s, just letting them loose. But then we got to Salzburg, and first thing I saw was a magnificent looking hotel. And we got the order that at midnight everybody would fire their weapons up in the air. Well, I went in there and saw the biggest, nicest looking head I had ever seen in my life. I'm gonna take me a nap. So I laid down, propped the chair up against the door. I don't know whether that'll really stop you from opening the door, but I'd seen it done in the movie. Took my gear off and laid across that bed, and the first thing I knew is that God awful, this racket. And I looked out, tracers were going right up in front of my window. And then I remembered we were supposed to be firing there. So I went down in the lobby, and Taylor down there, and Audie Murphy, and a guy named Roseberry, and they had found the bar. Although Audie didn't drink, he drinking some squash punch or something. He didn't drink alcohol. Well, then we found it.
Did you know Murphy from before, or was this the first time?
What?
Did you know Murphy from before, or was this the first time you met him?
Oh no, I knew him from before. And I remember one incident that Murphy did. We stopped in a village. Some poor German had a chicken farm there. Well, that was past tense, chicken farm. The cooks had gotten into one of the guest houses there and fired up the stove, and they were frying chicken like mad. And we took a small wash tub about that big, and took it outside. We were sitting out there on the porch talking. And prisoners come marching down the street. There must have been about 8 arrests. It filled the street up just about. And they were marching by. And one guy started it. He finished off a bone, and he just took it back, and he threw one of them and hit him. Well, that started it. People were throwing bones at him, and Murphy walked out. He didn't say a word. He picked up that tub of chicken and walked out and set it down on the sidewalk and started handing Germans each of them a piece of chicken as they went by. Talk about feeling little. Brother, he made us feel little. Here was a man that had been wounded 4 or 5 times. I didn't hate him anymore. And that was Murphy. So the next day, after I got up and we waited there in the hotel till daylight, I didn't want all those crazy drunk guys out there. And I found out where my outfit was. They were back on the east side of town. And got there. Now this had to be the 6th, I guess. Yeah, night passing into the 6th. I guess it was, wasn't it? But anyway, we were kind of getting settled into a routine, how we were going to live. And somebody had been down the road in a Jeep, and in a minute he came back just to hell. And I don't remember whether he was out of our outfit or something. He started screaming, "Crowd, crowd." So we grabbed the first few men there, about 15 or 20 of them, I guess. One guy grabbed a bazooka. And we got on each side of that road and then moving down, and here they came. One of these light armored cars, wheel type, and a flak wagon. A flak wagon and a truck full of foot soldiers. Well, I don't know what we should have done. I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was the proper thing to do, to ask them if they knew the war was over. And we killed every one of those bastards right then, and don't know to this day whether they were supposed to be gathering in some fields back to town. They were supposed to be coming in there by the thousands, hundreds of thousands. I know when they started marching them out of there, they marched down that road, oh God, 24 hours a day, 6 or 7, 8 abreast, name it, how many were there? And they piled their weapons up in the piles out there, and we threw gasoline on them and burned them. Had one German officer, I think he was a general, said, "Why are you doing that? We will need our weapons when you and I go and fight the Russians." Well, for a long time it looked like that's what we should have done, but I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad we let it go the way it is. That was much it. There was a lake. We built an R&R or just took over a hotel and built a couple of floats out in the lake. It was a beautiful mountain lake. Maybe I'll remember Otter Sea, yeah, I think that was the name of it. Anyway, the local inhabitants told us that a movie company came out there and they took motion pictures of Hedy Lamarr swimming naked in the water there. And of course, Hedy Lamarr was one chick. But it was a nice place to swim. And then later, I don't know, we stayed there about a month, I guess, and then we moved back to near Castle. This was a resort town, a spa, Badville Duncan. Oh, it was a nice place. They had an Olympic swimming pool in that town. The hotels were big houses, big 3-story houses and stuff. And we got along real well until the rear echelon people came up and saw how well we lived, and we got our asses kicked out of town.
It's always that way.
We had one trick that some of the 3rd Division GI had pulled. They said that were commandeering cars as we were moving across. A couple of guys driving a Volkswagen down there. 3rd Division soldiers may not have cars. Well, we knew what was happening, so the guys just raised the doggone hood of the case of the back of the Volkswagen, took a thermite grenade and set it on the block and walked away. Nobody had a car.
When did you find out you were going home?
And
one question before that, how did you feel when you knew it was over?
I've been trying to remember that there was a relaxed feeling. We had this rumors going around about the werewolves and turn your back on anybody, and don't go out alone. There's always 2 of you together, and some guy says, well, how are we going to hobnob with the ladies with 2 of them? That ain't going to work. Anyway, it wasn't long till we were on real good terms with most of the natives. Of course, the first thing not the first thing, but after we moved back from Salzburg, we were supposed to be getting ready to go to the Pacific. And my job was, I got made battalion supply officer with an honorary title, Division Engineer Supply Officer, which I was supposed to get out all the dunnage that I could get out of the sawmills that we could find around there. And that's what I had a lot of my time doing. And we paved some roads. They had very good roads. One of the things I noticed was their maintenance system. If they had 2 villages, they would find the middle point according to population. If this one had more people than it would be, and these people maintained the road out to the point, and these people maintained the road out to that. By hand. They hoped that asphalt was, but they kept it up. Instead of taxes, they could go into the forest and clean it up. The forest was clean, Black Forest was clean. I saw many rounds fired in there, but it never did catch on fire. they don't let the trash, or didn't let the trash accumulate on the ground. Every year after the leaves had fallen, they had to go in there, rake all that stuff, and burn it under supervision. And this was the way the poor folks paid their taxes. It was a nice thing, a nice way of doing business.
So you found out you didn't have to go Pacific.
When we found out we didn't have to go into the Pacific, I don't know how many days it was before we sobered up. It was some, I'll tell you for sure. So then what we were going to do, we were going to set up Army of Occupation. The battalion we got a new commanding officer. He wanted to go home. We got a new one, regular Army. The battalion executive officer had been one of the company commanders, and I had a long talk with him about joining the Army, staying up with him. And I'm not going to look back and say I wish I had or I didn't, I don't know. But I did consider it and hung around, and I got home in October.
Back to Oklahoma?
No. I got a plane ride. Being overseas so long, I was the oldest man in time of overseas in the whole 3rd United States Bike Infantry Division. So I got a plane ride then from Frankfurt to Paris, and I sat there a few days on the plane ride, and I found some Air Force people that thought they knew how to play cards. When I landed in New York, I had over $5,000 in my pocket, plus some francs, and blessed Pat, a bank over there bought them. So I had almost $6,000 in my pocket. And I took a train and stopped off Lexington, Kentucky to see a buddy that I knew up there. And I rode the train all the way home. And that was the end of the war.
It had been a long time, hadn't it?
It had been a long time. I left in we were on ship on the 4th of June. So I boarded ship in June of 1942, and I got back in October 1945. There were other people who spent longer times overseas, guys in the Pacific, I guess. But I can't remember it all back, you know. If I could, you know, get together with some of the guys, I did over in Vietnam. I met 2 of the guys over there that had been in the 3rd Division with.
When was that? When you were in Vietnam?
Oh, I spent 10 years over there as a civilian electrical engineer. We built diesel power plants. I took part in building the big diesel generating station that ever was up till that time. We had 36 generators, 1,500 kilowatts each. And put them in a ring in a circle. And you could fire up, as many as, we never did fire up more than about 27 or 28 of them. Nearly always had about 10 spares on another war, you're not interested in that.
Well, not just yet. Came back in October of 45. Did you have any problems sort of settling down civilian life?
Oh,
or
yeah.
not?
Yeah, I just did crazy things. I got into a crazy marriage. It didn't last very long. If I'd taken a good 2 weeks look at that woman, I would have known what I was getting into. But, now, Um, it was difficult trying to settle down. And even after I was discharged, I had a whole lot of leave time coming. I wasn't discharged until March of '46. Got home, the first thing I did, I got that old promotion paycheck. But those last paychecks were considerable better, between first lieutenant and captain, you know. If you hadn't had a promotion in a certain length of time, you know, you got an automatic promotion. It wasn't any great shakes. What the hell? Everybody didn't get to be a captain, but a lot of them. That's just, I just can't think of anything more that you might be interested in.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate it.
Digging with him. We had some.
Guys in Vietnam?
Yeah.
What sort of memories did you have that you shared?
Oh, we talked about old times. See, Murphy was killed while we were over there. Murphy was killed about 68 or 69 or something like that. I got over there in 65, I guess. And we got the news on the newspaper that Murphy had been killed in an airplane crash over here in Carolina or something. He was a good little guy. Good little guy. He wasn't much of an actor, but that don't make any difference. I was all for him. But one of them was this battalion exec officer of the 10th Engineer Battalion, and I talked to him. He was a major general over there. And then I saw another guy who was in the INR platoon of the 30th Infantry, and he was a lieutenant colonel, and he made bird colonel. And the other guy was just an acquaintance that I knew pretty good. He had gone through the old little OCS school of Oran with me, and he had made full bird colonel. He got in that state out a while and then decided that he liked it better, and he said, "You should have gone." I said, "Yeah, but how about this mess?" Yeah, I see what you mean. He lived in they had for him a 3-bedroom house trailer. One full colonel per house trailer. 2 lieutenant colonels or 3 majors. That's how they lived. And we got to reminiscing, and he said that if you just know somebody with political clout, and you tell them that you know a man over here, don't you dare